Here's Michael at the foul line. A shot on Elo. Good! The Bulls win! They win!
Where nothing is held back.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
Where nothing is censored.
You did what?
Where nothing is off limits. Where anything goes. This is Snowman Unfiltered.
Holy Toledo! What a way to finish!
And here's your host, Brian Snow.
We are just rolling right along here on Snowman Unfiltered. I want to thank you guys for supporting the podcast. And you know how I bring it every Wednesday. Every Wednesday you can check your favorite app and look for the new episode. And I invite y'all to sign up for the email list. Go to snowmanunfiltered.com/join us, JOINUS, and you will get a preview of the next episode. It'll be a 1 to 2 minute clip and just a little bit of a clue of what we're going to bring you on Snowman Unfiltered. Also, YouTube, Twitch, all of our social media, you need the ID SNWMN Unfiltered. That's SNWMN Unfiltered. That's all throughout our social media. The guest that I have for you on this episode of Snowman Unfiltered comes to me from New York, a place I've wanted to visit for a long time, and I always talk about sports and life. He decided to throw me a curveball and talk sports and motivation. Please welcome Thomas Jones to the Unfiltered Podcast. What's up?
Hey, things ain't too bad at all, man. Things ain't too bad at all. Tell you the truth, man. I feel good, man. I feel good. I'm honored to be on your show, man. I am honored to be on your show. But before I get started, I gotta let you tell you something what the New York boys told me to tell you, Snow. Like they told me to tell a legend, you're going to stop beating up on our boy LeBron, man. we ain't going to let you get away with that too much longer, Snow.
I haven't had to beat up on him because his play does that by himself. All right?
Right. The boy good now. I was listening to one of your shows and you had the man Cole, from Cole Sports. You had Cole on there?
Yes.
Y'all was killing my boy. But he said all the stats of LeBron. He said more points. He said LeBron got more assists, more rebounds. Yet he didn't put him in the category of Michael Jordan. I said, how you not put him in the category? He said he got more better stats than him, but he didn't put him in the category with him.
I'll tell you why. This is where we can open our episode, and it's great that you brought that up. I'll tell you why I will never put LeBron in the category of MJ. I will not use 6 rings to 3. I will not use that. That's too easy. That is too easy. Okay? I've said this on my morning show, Snowman in the Morning, and I've said this here on Snowman Unfiltered. There was one thing that Michael Jordan had that LeBron has not had. Progression to a championship. Here's what I mean. When LeBron was drafted in 2003, he was immediately anointed the king, and you know that riled me up. And he was immediately had all this pressure, and I feel for the guy. Don't get me wrong. I feel for the guy. He had all this undue pressure heaped on him for the simplest of reasons. They crowned him to be the next MJ. And I hate to say this, but there's only one MJ.
Well, it's true. I'll give you that. But it's true. But LeBron is a special individual, man. And I tell you why we love him so much. We got our Knicks, right? But Knicks, you're not a Knicks, huh? They belong in a homeless shelter somewhere, man. I tell you the truth. But LeBron is
and this is
guy.
coming from a Knicks fan, folks. Okay.
Yeah, ain't no doubt about that. Ain't no doubt about that. We need some help. We need some surgery. We need some miracles, man. But we adapted LeBron because, and I think it's that Rock Nation, Rockefeller thing. Now, before your fans and everybody, your listeners get on me, I know he's not signed to Rock Nation.
Right.
However,
right.
he did play for Rockefeller Records in the Rucker game. one of the biggest games in New York City history.
I know that. I know the legend of that game.
He's our guy.
But
He's
see,
our guy now.
there was a fellow that rocked New York even before MJ did. Do y'all remember a fellow by the name of Julius Erving, who played quite a few games at Rucker Park? See, my first favorite player of all time, and this is dating me, I know, is Julius Erving. Love the Doctor. Okay? And then Patrick Ewing was my boy in '82 until Michael Jordan hit that game-winning shot against Georgetown at North Carolina. And I loved both Michael and Patrick Ewing. Of course, they were a part of the Dream Team in 1992. I got spoiled, and this is why I give so much stuff to LeBron. I got spoiled by MJ for 13 years living in my hometown of Chicago.
Bias. That's what it is, Snow. I know, Snow. I listen to all the shows.
I got biased. I have a reason to be biased. We got spoiled, man.
That's what it's true. That is true. Y'all beat the bricks, so we got took a championship for us. We should have had at least one of them.
Yeah, but 1993 showed up, and so did Charles Smith. I'll tell you about that. I'll tell you about that day. It was a warm night. My parents and I were watching the game. We're talking about 1993 East Finals Game 5, and I know a lot of Knicks fans, and they get on me about this. Please, and they tell me, just like you're telling me, please don't make me remember this. Look, we had a chance to get over the Knicks hump, just like we didn't want to relive our rivalry with the Detroit Pistons.
The bad boys. Walked off that court when y'all won. They walked off that court.
Yep.
They ain't shake no hands or nothing.
Nope. After we figured out the Detroit Pistons in 1991, they didn't want to shake our hands. I will say this. That Knicks series in 1993 was one of the roughest, toughest series I've ever watched as not just a Bulls fan, but as a basketball fan. Because, and this is why I give Jordan the advantage over LeBron. Michael and his teammates had to figure it out. They had to figure out a way not to depend on MJ. Because we knew at that time Michael Jordan could take over a game in any moment. Okay? And his legend grew with that shot over Craig Elo in 1989. Okay? This is the progression I'm talking about. Michael had to figure it out year after year. 86 and 87, let's start with 85. 85, he drew the Milwaukee Bucks and one of the best defensive guards I've ever watched in Sidney Moncrief. 86 and 87, he had the Boston Celtics. I don't need to explain that story. 88, 89, and 90, we had the Bad Boys. I don't need to explain that story.
Not at all.
It's that progression that I'm talking about that gives, to me, Michael an advantage because it not only challenged him physically, it challenged him cerebrally. It challenged him and the Bulls.
But you got to give LeBron something.
Listen.
Because he had to go up against those Splash Brothers.
LeBron, I say this.
He had to go up against that Golden State. That's a great team. I mean, one of the best ever.
It's an awesome team. Just as LeBron had to figure out the Splash Brothers, the Bulls had to figure out the Bad Boys. And it's that kind of progression. And I've been spoiled by old school basketball since 1980. Magic Johnson, Julius Erving, Larry Bird, and those guys. So when you've been spoiled for as long as I've been spoiled, and y'all had Patrick Ewing for many years, Bernard King preceded him, Walt Frazier preceded them. It's just that progression that I had the pleasure of watching with and not just Michael, not just LeBron, but all the players have to go through that particular progression. What frightens me about LeBron is that he had this heaped upon him as an 18-year-old. MJ had the luxury of Dean Smith and North Carolina for 3 years before he was picked up in Chicago. To me, that gives MJ an advantage cerebrally. I will give LeBron this credit. He figured it out on the fly. But unfortunately, he ran into Tim Duncan twice, and he ran into the Splash Brothers 4 times.
With Green and one with that other miracle guy, that long arm guy that can shoot from anywhere, that can drive and step out on him. You know, he over at the Nets now. He over here with New York now.
Yeah. Kevin Durant, of course.
That's right, Mr. Durant. He gonna heal up, right? We gonna maybe get a chip in Brooklyn, not in New York. At least we get one in Brooklyn. But Mr. Snow, man, how are you feeling today, man? I'm on your show.
I'm awesome.
Blessed and honored. I'm blessed and honored to be on your show.
I'm honored to have you. I am so honored to have you, and I'm honored to have all my guests that I have here on Snowman Unfiltered. This is a podcast that was born, you know, I wouldn't say it was born out of necessity, but it just came out. I was talking with my wife, and she said, when I started the podcast in August, before we moved here to North Carolina, she said, just go with it. You know, this is the same kind of inspiration she gave me for my morning show. And you talk about inspiration all the time, and I love you for that. And I want let's give the men a lot of inspiration. These are two men coming together, talking about not just sports, but what inspires them or who inspires them. And the person I speak of a lot, especially on the morning show, God rest his soul, is my father.
Okay. I bet he taught you a lot. The way you just spoke about him, I can tell he taught you a lot. I can tell that.
I miss Pops every day, and he's been gone 12 years now.
Wow. Okay, sorry to hear that. 12 years.
Don't be. His soul resonates within me on a daily basis, because I can tell you honestly, and I've spoken about this to a lot of people, there are days, and I know you go through them also, TJ, there are days I want to just quit. There are days I want to just say, you know what, I'll just get a regular job and be done. I said that aloud, and my wife looked at me and said, for what? All you're having a regular job for is to make sure the bills stay paid while we build this empire. And she looked me in the eye and said those words, and she reminds me of that on a daily basis. And whenever I mention my dad and my beautiful little girl who passed away when she was 2, you want some inspiration? Those are two pieces of it.
That'll definitely inspire you. That's how you overcome adversity, and that's what it's all about. It's being able to overcome adversity. My formula, what I call it, is REWA, and REWA is replacing expectation with appreciation.
Yes,
and when you think about it, I know you don't have your daughter, and that's a sad thing in your father, but you still have your wife.
Yep.
When you can replace the expectation, I know you want your daughter, I know you want your father, but you can still appreciate your wife. It'll help you get through the tough times.
Absolutely.
When you're moving on that type of exploration, when you're dealing on that appreciation level, it'll help you get through.
One thing I talk about a lot is my battle with depression. And it's a daily battle. This is what people don't realize who go through it, especially with the men. Let's speak to the men here. Men go through depression about 2 or 3 times as much as women do. But as I've spoken with my wife about it, and I've had some figures thrown at me, because of the way society conditions the men, they are not allowed to talk about it. And I add these 2 words, until now.
Until now. Oh. Hey, let me tell you, let me get in right quick and tell you, you made me, when I'm off this podcast, call my father. And I'm going to call my father, I don't care if he's still at work, and I'm going to let him know that I love him. You know what I'm saying? Just from by you telling me how you are so inspired about your father, I'm going to make sure once I'm off this call that I call my father and say, oh, Dad, I love you, man. You know what I'm saying? Because I know you would value anything to be able to have your father with you right now.
Luther Vandross did a song called Dance with My Father.
Dancing with my father. Dancing with my father. That's right.
I heard that playing one night, and I woke up crying. And my wife said, why are you crying? And she heard the song and just hugged me. That's just how much not only my wife means to me, but my father means to me. My father, my grandfather, all the men in my family, my father, my grandfather, my uncles, both my uncles. That's just how influential the men in my family are, and I know the men in your family are.
Yeah, that's true. I got my Uncle Calvin. My Uncle Calvin is such a great inspiration, man. I mean, this man, a businessman that helps me every time I get down when I'm starting a new business and it gets tough. My Uncle Calvin is always there to say, man, are you looking at this? Are you doing that?
Yep.
I mean, are you putting in enough hours? And when you got those type of people in your life that give you those it could give you just one saying that can help you propel you through a tough time, man.
Oh,
so
yeah.
We appreciate those things, man. We appreciate those things. And when growing up, I didn't really have nobody to take me to, like, ball games or anything. Like, I grew up across the street from Rucker Park. I'm from Harlem, New York. So I grew up from Rucker Park was my Yankee Stadium. Even though I could see Yankee Stadium from Rucker Park, I had never even been to Yankee Stadium.
Right.
And I remember the first day going into Yankee Stadium, just remembering how green the grass was.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just looking out at the players, and I knew that I wanted to make sure that every young man in my family got a chance to experience that. Because no one in my family got a chance to take me there because life was just being life, right?
Yeah.
They wanted life was just being life. So I wound up taking all my nephews, all my sons, to make sure they at least got to see one sporting event. And I'm happy to say that each one of my sons and my nephews got to see a basketball game, a football game, and a baseball game at least.
That's
You know what I'm saying?
what Dad did to me.
To say that, you know?
Dad made
I'm
me a White Sox fan. I'm a South Sider.
White Sox. Right.
I'm a South Sider in my heart.
Man, my aunt got me a New York Giants helmet for Christmas one time. I'm a Giant fan forever. I don't care what we got, who we got. I got that helmet. I'm a Giant fan forever.
There you go.
It be implanted inside of you like religion when you're a child. When you get something.
It really is. When you get that item from your family, this is what my dad got me one year for Christmas. I'll never forget it. I grew up watching football with my parents. And one year, my dad got me a Joe Montana football. Sold. Okay? Do I need to explain anything else?
No more. Everybody became your guy and you right there, man. The miracle catch and all that. I didn't even think that catch was a miracle catch, but I'll give it to y'all.
And since you grew up not far from Yankee Stadium, and I can do a lot of impressions of a lot of voices, there was a fellow who was the PA announcer for many years. His name was Bob Shepard. He had one of the most iconic introductions of one of the most iconic Yankee players. And I did this impression for a friend of mine, and I'm going to do it for you right now. Anyone who has been to the old Yankee Stadium recognizes this introduction. Now batting for the Yankees, the shortstop, number 2, Derek Jeter.
Oh, you hit that,
Number 2.
Snow, you hit that on the point. Snow, you're going to get a Grammy for that one. Snow, you hit that one too perfect, man. I'm starting to think you from Harlem on the down low, man. Come on, Snow, you did that too well, man.
I got another one for you.
Yeah, give it to me, Snow.
Now pitching for the Yankees, number 42, Mariano Rivera.
Woo,
number 42.
The closer part. He's the closer. Ooh, about to shut the game down. When they knew that, it was like Mike Tyson coming in the ring. He won before he even got in.
When you heard Enter Sandman and heard Bob Shepard introduce Mariano Rivera, game, set, match. Game was over.
That's it. It took the heart already. But the announcement took their hearts already because they know he was coming in the 8th and they had a lead. It was over.
That was it. That was it.
Not with him. They wasn't getting no hit. Come
not
on.
Not with Mariano Rivera. Not a chance, man. The best closer to ever do it. And I've seen some great closers over the years. But the best to ever do it was Mariano Rivera.
Yeah, Mariano, man. One of the best. And a great guy.
Yes.
You know, we're talking about a closer, but a great guy, a great individual. Right? I mean, when you got that combination, man, come on, man. You're just a blessed guy, man. hey, Snow, man, with those type of impressions, we got to get you to come out here, man, to the Rucker Park. The new Rucker Park, I got to tell you, is Dykeman basketball, man.
Really?
I mean, the summer, you got everybody coming through. I'm talking about everybody is coming through to Dykeman Park to play in that league. I mean, this year, PTG won the championship, but they had Lance Stevens, and they had Isaiah Whitehead. So they won the chip. They had them in the basketball, but everybody comes through. I'm talking about Kevin Durant. I mean, Kyrie Irving. I mean,
Man.
everybody comes through the Dykeman League. And we got to shout out Kevin Stevens. He's like the commissioner. He like runs that league. And Miss Sharon Bond, she makes it happen. Miss Sharon Bond,
Beautiful.
she will welcome you. If you live in New York, I guarantee you she will welcome you, Snowman. You will have VIP. You will have so many rappers around you, you will start thinking that you was Russell Simmons. I tell you. You will start thinking you was like somebody, some mogul.
They might try to shove they might try to shove a microphone in my hand and say, "You're our PA announcer."
Do the impression. Do the Yankee impression. And have the whole crowd going crazy, man.
I tell you what's funny. When I do announcer impressions, and the one that got me started in doing announcer impressions and what later on led me to get into broadcasting, as I said, my first favorite team was the Philadelphia 76ers when they had Julius Erving. And one day I heard him get introduced, and this is the impression that I recorded. And University of Massachusetts, number 6, Julius Erving.
Oh, you had to have that long win for that one.
Yeah, man. And I got another New York impression for you. One year, I was listening to the Bulls and the Knicks in a playoff series. The year was 1989. All I have to do is this for you. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena. This is the first game of a best-of-7 series between the New York Knickerbockers and the Chicago Bulls in the Eastern Conference semifinals and the NBA playoffs. Anybody who knows New York knows that voice I just did an impression of was John Condon, the original PA announcer of MSG.
He's no longer there.
Yeah. God rest his soul.
Yeah, God rest his soul.
Before we wrap up, give me a couple things that keep you going every day in this.
I tell you this. I'll be honest with you. It's about my experiences. Just all that I've been through, man. I like to go back and I call it my Rolodex of experiences, and I use those experiences to get me through any problem that I'm going through today. And it propels me, man, because it's tough sometimes. I tell you, it's tough. My journey been a tough one.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I built $1 million businesses and lost them all. I had $1 million and woke up on a subway train. You know, sleeping on the subway train because I'm broke. I mean, adversity is real. Like you said, depression is real. Depression will kill you. Man. Depression is like being 100 pounds, but you're trying to squat 1,000. Yeah. You're trying to get 1,000 pounds off your back, man. Snowman, you know what that feels like? I know you know what it feels because you told me. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I know how it feels.
That darkness. It be dark, but you got to find that light, that hope. Because you ever lost something in a room, you ever searching for something at your remote control in a dark room, and you're looking for it, and you can't find it on your phone, and you're watching all that, but you get up and you call on the light. Yep. You call on the light, and it illuminates everything. You be like, oh, man, I was just about to touch it. It was right there. Yep. That little light is all you need sometimes, Snow. And that little light.
You said it best. You said it best. Being on top of the mountain and then losing it. Okay, 3 years. I'm closing with this story, but there's a reason because I want both of us to give y'all some inspiration to listen to this podcast. 3 years ago, I was riding on top, living in Michigan City, Indiana. I had a couple high schools I was calling games for. I had my own place. I had a car and everything. And then one day, someone decided to spread a rumor about me, which was a lie, and I wound up losing it all. And until I met my wife a year ago, I didn't know how I was going to climb out of that. It cost me some time in a mental hospital. Let's go ahead and say it honestly. It cost me some time in a mental hospital. It cost me some time being homeless for 2.5 years. It's like you said, you have to find that nerve to keep you going. You got to find that inspiration to keep you going. And as I said at the top of the program, there are days I wanted to quit. But then I would hear my dad's voice, I would hear my daughter's voice, and then recently I would hear my wife's voice during those dark moments going, don't you dare quit. You got an empire to build. We got an empire to build, brother. We got an empire. Let me pluralize that. Empires to build.
Oh, empires. I like that. And before you close out on me, I would like, my story is almost like yours, and I guess that's what makes us great. I mean, I had a great business. My last one was called Urban Recycling. Man, I'm talking about hand over fist. My profit was $13,000 a week. I woke up when Trump came in because we was dealing with cardboard and paper and selling it to China.
Yeah.
When Trump came into administration, he started the tariffs with China. China made it a law that they could not no longer import paper goods from America. That closed my business. I'm trying to hold on to the business. I'm bleeding $7,000-8,000 a week. I want to try to gamble my way out of it because I think I know sports. I'm trying to gamble my way out of it.
Right.
Wind up doubling that. The whole place goes up in flame. I'm lost everything. I woke up sleeping on a train in homeless shelters. But you know what? That voice make me battle back and be able to do what I'm doing now. And that's what it's about. It's about the comeback. No matter what you're going through, you gotta get up. And one thing important before we get off, exercise.
Yes.
Exercise will help you beat depression.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Try it. I don't care if you're doing 25 push-ups a day. Try something when you're going through those tough times. Because it will help you. It will help you. And that's what I want you to people, because I got my own podcast. It's called the Daily Bag Podcast. And that's just a conversation with myself. And it gives you the warrant and permission to listen in. Because you can go back to the start of that podcast when I started in the homeless shelter. I'm no longer in the homeless shelter. I'm sitting in some nice condo right now, but I had to go through it. And I wanted to show the people, you follow me from when I had nothing to where I'm okay now. Well, it's so much more to get done.
Yeah.
However, you can see that you can follow. It's okay. It's okay to start from zero. It's going to take some hard time.
Yeah.
It's going to take you to get through some adversity, but you got to battle through. And if you see me to do it with minimum wage jobs, you can do it too.
I know I can.
You got to start somewhere.
I know I can. That's what my wife tells me every day. You know, I got an interview coming up here pretty soon, but I know it's not going to be the end-all, be-all. I know it's not going to be the end-all, be-all because it's like my wife and I said, and it's what I'm telling you, and it's what I want to inspire, especially the men to do. Keep building your empire. This is how we'll close. I'm going to close with a positive word for you and everybody else that's tuned in to Snowman Unfiltered. Keep building that positive momentum. Keep building that positive move forward. It just takes one forward move to get you back going. It'll take a while to get to that point, but believe me, once you get to that point and once you start moving forward, then nobody can stop you unless you stop yourself. And don't stop yourself. Do not stop yourself. Thomas Jones joining me on Snowman Unfiltered. A pleasure, my friend. An absolute pleasure.
Yeah, you can have anybody want to locate me, because my father gave me my name, but I said, you know what, my name is Thomie Israel. My mother did not give me that name. I gave myself that name with the hope that I could live by it, stand by it, and when I'm dead and gone, I lived up to it. And you can find me at the Daily Bag Podcast, or you can email me. You'll put in the show notes at TommieIsrael@gmail.com, but you can listen to my podcast at the Daily Bag. The Daily Bag Podcast is a journey, and you can watch this journey as I continue to take every step along the way to get through depression and adversity. And Snowman, the legend, it's my honor to be on the show with you, my brother. My honor. We got to get you to New York. We got to get you to the Dykeman basketball game. I'm going to have Sharon Bond reserve you the VIP so you can do those impressions, man. And I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate
Tell the wife I said hello. The baby girl, keep up the good work. I appreciate you. Keep up the good work, man. You got a good woman in your corner. Keep up with them empires. And anytime you need me to come on the show, just give me a call.
Appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much. I love you. And keep getting that daily bag, my man. Keep getting that daily bag.
That's right.
Till next time, folks, have a great time. God bless. Remember to make your next move your best move. And always remember, if your dreams don't scare you, then they are not big enough. If you haven't learned anything from Thomie Israel or myself, learn this. Dream big, do bigger. We are, and we hope you are too.